First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not financially helping family and friends despite being able to? My son, Nick, was born with a congenital heart defect 17 years ago. It required a $60,000 surgery in Israel if he was to survive past 12 months. I've spent the first 3 months of his life running around, begging people and searching for money. My parents gave us $100. They had well-paying jobs and guaranteed state pensions. When I asked my brother for help, he mumbled something about needing to save for his daughter's college. She never went, by the way. Anyone who met her could have told him that much. They did take regular vacations overseas, though. My department of 40 at work donated $30 and a card. At one point, I was seriously searching for ways to sell my kidney and liver. My in-laws sold their apartment for $35,000. Best friend gave me another $7,000, which was all he had. Accepting his help was one of the few times I cried in my adult life. I sold my car and every piece of furniture and electronics that wasn't bolted to the walls. My in-laws moved in, and we've spent the next 5 years living together. 5 people, crammed into a 2-bedroom. Surgery was a success. As fate has it, I started a hustle and it took off. After years of hard work, I moved our headquarters to a Central European country to be closer to our EU clients. Even discounting for about 2/3 of my wealth that is tied up in the business, I am a multi-millionaire. My in-laws now have a 4-bedroom house. We pay for them to go on vacations 3 to 4 times a year, or did, before 2020. My son is a hard worker who makes me a very proud father. I can't say that I hate those who didn't help back in the day. Hate is a strong word. Rather, I feel like I've learned my lesson and don't expect anything from them. I don't invite my parents for visits. They're welcome to pay for their flights and a hotel room, but I won't cover their expenses like I do with the in-laws. My brother asked for a loan to start his business 5 years ago. I said the time wasn't right. 2 months ago, his daughter got into a car accident, drunk driving. Nothing seemingly life-threatening, but a lot of nasty scarring on her legs that require a costly cosmetic surgery. I suggested he looks into downsizing, as I am focused on helping my kids get good education. Old co-workers who wanted to join my business once it took off were told to apply through the regular process. Except for my best friend. He's been my partner from the start, and I sleep better at night knowing we've got each other's backs. It comes without saying there have been lots of very unhappy people in my life. In our culture, you're expected to support your community and family, do favors. Nepotism is very much an ingrained thing. You're supposed to bring over your family. If you're lucky enough to root yourself in the Western world, help friends immigrate. My parents told me to my face they are ashamed of me, how the Western culture has changed me. I've been called many things, way worse than an a-hole and heartless. After hearing my story, tell me Reddit, am I though? Edit. To those wondering why my parents had a pretty lukewarm response, if you can even call it that, the surgery had a 40% success rate. They thought we should let nature run its course, and instead, try for a new baby. It may sound horrendous to Westerners, but it's not that cold of a statement to someone in our home country, but obviously wife and I didn't take it well. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your in-laws sold their $35,000 house to help you. Your best friend gave you all he had to help your son. Nobody else helped you, or even pretended to help you and your son. Your in-laws deserve everything you're giving to them because they were one of the only people there for you at your absolute lowest. You were going to sell your kidney for your son because nobody else helped you. Having your old co-workers who did not help you beg to get into your business don't deserve it. And not only that, but it is 100% fair that they are to apply just as anyone else. Your parents are just angry at you for not sharing your success. If you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. That goes for you and your son in relation to rest of family. Not the a-hole, but your parents and old co-workers certainly are. Huh, this is probably the first time the "can't handle me at my worst" phrase made any sense to me. Thanks for putting a smile on my face. Not the a-hole. They're not obligated to help you and you're not obligated to help them. Don't help them. But your parents' comment about let nature run its course and instead try for a new baby, like, what the F do they smoke? Who tells that to anyone? They essentially told you to let your son die and provide them with another grandchild. You've got no contact then and there. Nobody needs such people in their lives. It's very hard to explain this, but it's truly not as horrific as it sounds for people raised and living in that culture. I don't know how to get it across in a just manner. The only very weird analogy that comes to mind is how bone marrow jello is a delicacy in some countries that is served during holidays. And in other cultures, people would have a complete WTF moment if they are told this is food. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for respecting my late brother, 45 male, wishes, and not telling his ex-wife, 46 female, about his diagnosis and not informing anyone about him passing away? My parents died when I, 38 female, was 11. I didn't have an extended family in the US, so my brother, 45 male, raised me after that. He was basically my dad, and a good one. When I was 15, he met Olivia, 46 female. They dated for 2 years before getting married. They had 2 daughters together, Sarah, 12 female, and Amelia, 14 female. They were very happy together. My brother was a family man, so he was living his dream. 5 years ago, my nieces went camping with their uncle, Olivia's brother. When they were driving back home, they were hit by a drunk driver. Amelia and Olivia's brother died at the scene. Sarah arrived at the hospital alive, but she didn't survive the surgery. It almost broke my brother. He managed to suffer in silence to help Olivia, but they managed to survive, and I thought they were strong. From the outside, it seemed like they really loved each other. Last year, after staying with my brother for 23 years, Olivia came out as a lesbian, and she asked my brother for divorce. It was a shock to everyone. That really messed my brother's head. During the divorce proceedings, my brother started feeling sick. He eventually was diagnosed with stage 2 pancreatic cancer. After the diagnosis, my brother dove down into a deep depression. He moved in with me, Houston to Hartford. He isolated himself from everyone. The divorce was handled only through his lawyer, and he cut contact with Olivia. Asked me to not tell anyone about his diagnosis, then deactivate his social media. He was severely depressed. He went through 2 rounds of chemo and 1 major surgery. But unfortunately, it didn't work, and he was terminal. My brother's depression went as deep as it could. He barely spoke to anyone at that point. When he had the energy, he liked playing with my kids. Otherwise, he just spent his time looking at old photos and videos. Before he died, he told me that he didn't want a funeral, that he wanted to be cremated, that I didn't inform anyone about his death, and that I spread his ashes in a certain place. It is a lake in Vermont where he used to take the girls to hike. He just wanted to be forgotten, his words. My brother died in September. I did everything he asked me, and in October, I went there to spread his ashes. Last Thursday, Olivia showed at my place. She said that she couldn't talk to him, and she wanted to spend Christmas with him. I invited her in and told her what happened. She didn't take the news very well. At first, she accused me of lying. Then she told me that I stole him from her, that she had a right to know before the divorce, that I shouldn't have spread his ashes, that he shouldn't have to die alone. I was there with him, that she didn't know why he did that to her, that she shouldn't be punished. She started to panic. I tried to calm her down, but she got a bit aggressive, and my kids got scared, so I asked her to leave. She told people about his death, and now I'm being harassed in social media by my brother's friends, her family, and people I don't even know. Made me wonder, am I the a-hole here, Reddit? Now for the top judgment of this post. Not the a-hole. You were respecting your brother's wishes. However, since it is out there now, run an obituary for him, which includes the statement that the announcement of his death was delayed at his request, as well as the fact that he chose to share his diagnosis with very few people. Tell anyone who asks that Olivia chose to give up a legal right to know about his condition, and he chose not to share it with her. This is a good idea. Maybe even post it on your social media. Not the a-hole. You respected his final wishes. Once she divorced him, none of this was up to her, and showing up out of the blue without communicating with you is a bit of a boundary breach. This, you did as your brother asked. You were/are his family. She no longer was. Not her decision. Tell everyone they can kick rocks. It's none of their business. God, no. You have had so much tragedy in life. Off topic, but you're a super strong person. Not the a-hole at all. Once you're divorced, You're not owed a single thing from the other person or that person's family that doesn't involve shared children. You did what your brother asked, and that's all you needed to do. I'm sure she feels immense guilt and is probably still traumatized by her own tragedy with the girls. Still, you didn't owe it to her to tell her anything. I'm so sorry you've seen so much tragedy in your life. Thank you, but my brother was always stronger than me. He took me while I was grieving and never complained. Took care of me like a parent. Cooked for me, helped with my homework, took care of me while I was sick, comforted me when I had my first heartbreak. And he worked his butt off to let me go to college without any debt. He never complained, not even once. He was indeed strong. Now, for the next story. Am I the a-hole for spending significantly more on my 18-year-old brother than I did on my younger siblings? So, I'm significantly older than my half-siblings. Long story short here, my mother died when I was in my mid-teens, and my dad took off with a woman literally half his age shortly after. The kids are 18 male, 14 female, and 12 male. Honestly, our dad is kind of a jerk in general. He's always been a bit of a hard A. Very into the whole tough love, hands off, let my wife do all the work, I'll just be the disciplinarian approach to parenting. One of his more extreme/weird rules is that he expects all of his children to move out of his house within 3 months of turning 18. Now, this applied for me, but I had been left a significant inheritance by my mom and my grandpa when they both died. Plus, I had a good apprenticeship in the company I'm now a manager in. I could afford to move out and do so comfortably. My little brother was less fortunate. His only income was from a part-time job in a pub. Plus, he has some mental health issues. Depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I suspect an eating disorder, which make life harder for him. Plus, he turned 18 this year. I really thought Dad would be more lenient, but no, my brother still had to move out. He stayed with me for a while, then got put up in a flat by himself. He's honestly barely scraping by, and I wish he'd come back to mine, but that's a whole other thing in itself. All that to say, Kid has had a tough old year, and I wanted to do something to cheer him up for the Christmas. I managed to get him a PS5 and a couple of games for it, as well as a couple of other little treats. Plus, I paid a few months' rent for him to take the pressure off him for a while. I got a pretty generous Christmas bonus this year, so it wasn't like I bankrupted myself for him or anything. But it was still a significant amount to spend, and not something I could have done 3 times over. But I still did spend quite a bit on my younger siblings. My sister got a pair of Air Max she's wanted for ages. My brother got a Jack Wills coat, and they both got a few extras. I won't give exact figures, but I spent a couple of hundred each on the younger two in comparison to almost 2,000 on my oldest brother. I didn't bring it up, but somehow our dad and my stepmother found out, and now they're both pretty mad at me. They're accusing me of playing favorites and punishing my younger siblings because I'm mad at my dad. My stepmother is insistent that since the younger two are still kids, so there should be more focus on them for Christmas, and as an adult, my oldest brother should expect to get less. It's caused a huge rift, with neither of them speaking to me currently, and the 18-year-old feeling horribly guilty about it all. I'm wondering now if I screwed up purely because of how upset they are about it. Not day haul. What you do for your adult siblings isn't their business. I'm sure when the other two turn 18, you'll help them out if they need it. For future consideration, kids may perceive it to be unfair. You could give some things not as Christmas gifts, but just a nice gesture in another day, and give a comparable part of the gift on the holiday. That's the mad thing to me, is the kids don't seem to care. It's just my dad and stepmom who are bothered. Not day haul. I'm sorry for what your brother is going through, OP. You're so sweet to try to make him feel better. Everyone deserves to have a sibling that has their back like that. You were incredibly generous with all your siblings. The difference is the younger two have a roof over their heads and family around them still. I'm sure if they were having a rough time, you'd have been just as helpful with them. The fact is, they're not. You don't owe anyone anything just because someone, in this case dad and stepmom, says it's not fair. You didn't ignore the kids or get them nothing. You still got them very nice gifts. Not day haul. How you spend your money is none of their business. Chances are, they are afraid word will get out they're neglecting their struggling son in a year like this. This whole idea of forcing your kids to move out at 18 is ridiculous anyway. Just to rub it in, I tell them the PS5 was for Christmas and the rest was just because. I mean, if you really want to rub it in, be like, I just gave him the support he needed, even though he isn't my child. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my baby clothes and blankets with my husband's sister? I, 26 female, was pregnant with my son 6 months ago when I miscarried at 19 weeks, though I consider him stillborn, because he was so close to reaching the cutoff, but he didn't, and we didn't get to parent him. It has been so hard because my husband's sister was pregnant at the same time as me, and now she's due anytime now with her first child. We get along really well usually, until recently. My husband's sister and her husband had some property issues that ended up leading to most of their baby stuff getting destroyed, and during COVID, he lost his job, so they have less money. My husband's sister asked us if we could let them have the clothes we bought our son, as well as the blankets I made for him, because those are the things they still need. My husband had already gone out to buy a couple of clothes items for the baby to help, but we're not ready to say goodbye to the stuff yet, and we told them that. She was angry and not understanding. She said we were the least helpful in their hour of need, and how could we deny our future niece or nephew some clothes and a blanket? My husband told her it's not like our son simply outgrew them, and she fired back that he's never going to wear them, but her child could. She told me she was especially pissed at me, as a mom, not doing what I could for a child. I feel guilty and angry and jealous a little. She's so far along now, and I didn't make it that far with my son, and I am struggling more because I feel so bad. I am also in between therapists because the therapist I saw up until November quit out of nowhere from the practice, and I haven't meshed with anyone else since. And I can feel the fracture in the family because of this, but at the same time, I'm just not ready to get rid of anything or change anything in the room yet. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She doesn't get to decide how you grieve or what you are ready to give up now, or ever. I am so sorry for the loss of your son. You keep all of his items that you want off whoever lot you need to. Keep them for your next baby if you want. You certainly don't owe them to sister-in-law. Exactly. No one is ever entitled someone else's things too. Even if Opie never wanted kids again, it's 100% her choice if she wants to give them to someone. Not the a-hole. She can screw right off with her attitude. It's rich how she acts like if you don't give her the blanket you literally made for your child, that will mean she has no way of ever having any blanket for her child. There are plenty of charity organizations that she could get baby stuff from in their hour of need. She doesn't need yours. And she fired back that he's never going to wear them, but her child could. She told me she was especially pissed at me, as a mom, not doing what I could for a child. And I am especially pissed at you, because as a mom, you should know how freaking devastating it would be to lose a child during pregnancy. And then having people demanding the baby things and saying things like that are completely heartless. Edited to add, I'm so sorry for your loss. Hugs. Not a a-hole. Your sister-in-law has no right to demand the things you bought and made with love for your little baby. You are still grieving the terrible loss you experienced, and it's okay to want to hold on to mementos, especially the blankets you made him. Your sister can ask for donations, but she cannot demand them from anyone. She should back off, and her comment was really out of line. I wish you and your husband good luck in your journey. Hopefully, you will find a new therapist soon. After 2 years of promises, they gave my promotion to the worst person on the team, so I left and let them sink. Original post. I've been working as a graphic designer in the marketing department of my company for around 3 to 4 years. When I started, our team was small, just 3 of us, including a team lead I respected deeply. Although we were a small group, I loved the creative challenges and the close collaboration with my coworkers. As the team grew, I quickly became known as one of the most dedicated and fastest designers. I trained every new hire, led projects, delivered presentations, and even organized workshops for the team. Over time, I took on the responsibilities you'd expect of a senior designer and gave my all to each project. Then things started to change. My team lead left, which meant even more responsibilities landed on my plate, as we had no replacement for over a year. It felt like the perfect opportunity to prove I was ready for a senior designer role. During my annual review, I was told that I was on track for promotion, and if I kept up the hard work, I'd be promoted within a year. But then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A new coworker, a notoriously lazy and toxic person, was promoted to senior designer. I was stunned. She had joined the team long after me, did the absolute bare minimum, and often passed her unfinished projects to me because I was fast. She had no clue about design strategy, stakeholder management, or even team collaboration. She would sweet-talk the higher-ups, take credit for things she didn't do, and leave the actual work to the rest of us. What really killed me was seeing her act like a leader, setting team guidelines she didn't even follow herself. She had a reputation among stakeholders as being difficult to work with, and they often requested that I handle their projects instead of her. After months of this, we finally got a new team lead, and I saw a chance to fight for the promotion I'd been promised. I prepared a presentation showcasing my project successes, positive feedback from coworkers, and a portfolio of senior-level work I'd been handling. The new team lead was impressed and acknowledged that I was the one of the most talented designers on the team. I thought that finally someone saw my hard work. But not long after, the same coworker messed up a big project, which affected not only my workflow but also my reputation, because she had involved me to cover for her. I corrected her work, but instead of appreciating it, she stormed into the office accusing me of embarrassing her in front of the stakeholder. I calmly explained that I was simply following project guidelines that she had ignored. When our team lead got involved, he agreed I was in the right, but seemed too scared to confront her fully, coddling her to keep her quiet. By the time my next annual review came around, I was at my wit's end, but I still held onto a shred of hope that I'd finally be recognized. Instead, my team lead gave me a 3-star rating out of 5 and told me I should be more present. She even had the nerve to compare me to a lazy coworker, saying I needed to emulate her social presence. I was floored. I had been the one keeping our team running, training new hires, checking everyone's work, and fixing her mistakes, and this was how I was rewarded? I refused to sign the review papers, telling him I wouldn't be proving anything else. I said that if he thought she was senior material, then he could let her handle the work. I would step back and do only what was required. No more senior-level tasks, training, or rescuing her half-finished projects. He started panicking and offered me the promotion in 6 months instead of a year, but I was done. 2 weeks later, I accepted a higher-paying job offer and handed in my notice. My manager was shocked, begging me to stay and asking what he could do to make things right. I told him there was nothing he could say that would make up for the years of disrespect. As soon as I decided to leave, I knew exactly how I'd handle my departure. Since all those senior tasks were no longer my problem, I wasn't going to spend my final 2 weeks writing down guidelines or passing on any of the knowledge I'd built up over the years. If I wasn't senior enough to earn the title, why should I act like one? Almost 60% of the work processes, design systems, and templates that kept our team afloat were things I had built from scratch. I knew it would take them months to untangle the gaps I was about to leave behind. The team leader must have realized this pretty quickly, because every day he started showing up at my desk with desperate pleas for help. Just a few guidelines, or just walk us through the workflow one last time. Each time, I reminded him that he'd refused my promotion, and as far as I was concerned, that meant my time and expertise were no longer his to ask for. The day I handed in my badge and walked out of that building was the first time I felt genuinely free in years. Now, I'm in a new job where my contributions are recognized and rewarded. Looking back, I can only hope this experience was a lesson for my former team lead and his senior designer. Maybe they'll learn what happens when you overlook someone's hard work and loyalty for the wrong reasons. But honestly, that's no longer my problem. Now for the top comments before reading the update. To be honest, you sound very out of touch with your management. You should already know where you are in the picking order of promotion/seniority. And you should realize that your skills shown today might not at all qualify you as one of the most likely to be promoted next or go into a different role. Not getting a promotion happens, for many reasons, but you should always be aware why management picked your colleague. Even if you don't agree with their decision, management is typically not blind to the things you mention. They simply use a different set of criteria that you think they do/should. The more mature way of handling this situation is to simply talk to your management about it and put a realistic growth/promotion plan together. And if they can't, then look for something else. I actually did talk to them. Everything was even documented. I was already doing the job. All I wanted was a title. Practically nothing was going to change for them. I was already very near the salary scale, so even if I was promoted, my salary raise was very little anyways. So then why did they decide not to? You are owed a good and real answer to that. Typically, there is a skill lacking, and it's easier to ignore that for management than to tell you and have to work on getting that required training/growth. Well, it was a very long discussion, but I think it was not about the skills. I had a feeling like they didn't want to give that position so easily, or else everyone would have requested it. Also, I think they wanted to give that spot to someone else, which I think also have deserved that position. But moral of the story, don't promise what you cannot give. They shouldn't have led me on, and should have been honest with me like, hey, can't promise it, but when the time comes, we can look into it again. I'm facing a similar situation at work. I'm a few years from retiring after 30 plus years, and my boss has recently promoted a 5-year employee to replace me when I leave. She covered some of my duties last year and was promoted 4 levels with a 20% pay raise, meaning she now earns more than me. Initially, I was furious, but I decided to quiet quit. I stopped documenting my processes, password protected my notes, and now strictly work 8 to 5. Meanwhile, my replacement has let the promotion go to her head, alienating the staff by barking orders, taking long breaks, and working irregular hours. Ironically, she'll have to give up her promotion and pay raise to take over my position, which isn't up for reclassification for another 8 years. With staff members leaving and a hiring freeze in place, the situation is bound to get worse, but I'm just enjoying the show for now. Get your years of retirement. Personally, I'd go ahead and do that transfer. Now for the update. First, thank you all for reading my post and sharing your own experiences. It's surprising how many people have faced similar situations. Your support has helped me move on, even if I can't forget what I went through. I hope this post encourages others to value themselves and push for the respect they deserve. Some of you thought I was overplaying my skills, but when you've put in years of hard work, gained experience, and learned your worth, you stop holding back. This was my breaking point, a major wake-up call that I'd had enough. For a bit more context, my team lead was new to management and struggled to handle conflicts. As for my lazy coworker, some of you suggested she slept her way to the promotion, but that wasn't the case. She was just very chatty and good at charming people, which helped her get ahead in a gossip-prone office. So, what happened after I left? I'm still in touch with my former project coordinator, my work bestie, who has kept me updated. They try to get my ex-coworker to step up, but unsurprisingly, nothing changed. She's still slacking off, and her behavior remains unchecked. To replace me, they had to divide my workload among 3 or 4 junior designers, and even merge 2 teams to manage it. This led to frustration because juniors and mediators were suddenly on the same level, causing some resentment. They also lost a lot of the work I'd done, so they had to redo it from scratch. In the end, the company didn't experience a major collapse, but they're still struggling with my lazy ex-coworker, who managed to shift her responsibilities onto the juniors. So, in a way, she got her win-win. The lesson? Everyone is replaceable, but knowing your worth is crucial. I absolutely love my new job, where I'm working with my amazing old team lead who left before all this mess. My hard work is recognized and appreciated. The best part? There are no junior or senior titles. We're all equal as graphic designers, and it's refreshing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my parents financially after they secretly supported my perfect sibling instead of me? Growing up, I was always the self-sufficient one. I worked hard, earned scholarships, and took on part-time jobs to pay my way through college. Meanwhile, my younger sibling had everything handed to them. A new car, fully paid tuition, and even an apartment. I assumed my parents were simply more financially stable when my sibling came along, and I didn't want to make a fuss. Fast forward to last month, my parents called saying they were in financial trouble and asked if I could help them with a loan. I considered doing the right thing, but something didn't add up. So, I asked them directly why they had spent so much on my sibling and not on me. That's when they admitted that they had actually saved for both of us, but used almost all of the money to support my sibling because sibling needed it more. I was devastated. I had worked myself to exhaustion just to stay afloat, while they funded my siblings' every whim, fully aware that I was struggling. I told them I couldn't help them financially because it wouldn't be fair to myself. Now, my sibling and some extended family members are calling me heartless and ungrateful, saying that family supports each other and accusing me of letting my parents suffer over old grudges. Am I the a-hole for refusing to bail out my parents after learning the truth about their financial favoritism? Not the a-hole. Why can't the younger sibling help out your parents? You struggled all your life to make your own way without the help of your parents, and now they need your help? I mean, they couldn't help you before, but now they want your help? I definitely think twice. Not the a-hole. Yep, it's time for their investment in your siblings to pay dividends. Not your monkey. Send a message out to family telling them that you give your permission to your sibling that the money that was saved for you but instead given to sibling be given back to your parents. Not the a-hole. Sibling can sell the flat they were given and give half the money that rightfully belongs to OP back to the parents as OP doesn't want or need it anymore. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $50,000 that our grandfather left me in his will? I-32 male recently received $50,000 from my grandfather's estate. I was incredibly close to him. I visited every week, especially as he got older and his health declined. I was there through it all, taking him to doctor's appointments and sometimes just sitting with him while he watched his favorite shows. He was like a second father to me, and when he passed, it hit me hard. My younger brother Matt, 27 male, had a different relationship with Grandpa. It's not that he didn't care, he did, but he was always busy. Matt lives a few hours away, has a demanding job, and is starting a family with his pregnant wife. He visited on holidays and special occasions, but that was about it. I always figured that was just how he was. Reading the will, we found out that Grandpa had left Matt some sentimental items, an old watch and a few other things. The $50,000, however, went to me. I didn't expect it, but I think Grandpa knew how much I had sacrificed to be there for him in his final years. I loved him and never did any of it for the money, but when I received the inheritance, it felt like his way of saying thank you. A couple of weeks after the funeral, Matt reached out, saying he needed to talk. He came over and after some small talk, he asked me for $30,000 of the inheritance. He explained that he was drowning in debt. The pregnancy brought extra expenses, and he just needed some help to get back on track. He said he wouldn't ask if he were desperate. I felt bad for him, I really did, but I also felt conflicted. This money wasn't something I had expected, but I'd already started making plans for it. I've been wanting to open a small woodworking business, something I'm passionate about, and have been saving for over the years. This inheritance was the missing piece to make that dream a reality, and I feel like my grandfather knew that when he left it to me. I told Matt I couldn't give him the $30,000. I said I'd be happy to help in smaller ways, like offering some of the savings I had set aside. But I wanted to keep most of the inheritance for the business I'd been dreaming of. I even offered to help him look for financial assistance or budgeting advice. Looking back, that may have come off as petty, but I didn't mean it that way. He didn't take it well. Matt accused me of being selfish and valuing my non-existent hobby over helping my own brother and future niece or nephew. He said I didn't understand the stress he was under. And to make matters worse, our parents have sided with him. Mom says family should come first and that Grandpa would have wanted me to help. Now I feel like the bad guy. I didn't ask for this money, and I don't want to damage my relationship with my brother. But this is the first time in my life I feel like I could actually follow a dream, and I don't want to give that up. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your brother and parents are entitled. The money is yours. Mom and Dad are free to give him $30K. As it's one of their parents that died too, they should have for sure have been given a part of the total inheritance in the will. Either money or other things of monetary value, not just sentimental things. They should offer to sell or give some of the money they've inherited too, if they're so eager to get OP to give up a big chunk of his part. Not the a-hole. He is an adult responsible for his choices. Stop letting them guilt trip you. If your parents care so much, they can help him. A. Tell them to stop. B. Tell them you have spent the money already. C. Go low or no contact if they don't stop. Last story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my sister's secret life after she sabotaged mine? I, 28 female, have a sister, Rachel, 26 female, who has always been the golden child. She's charming, beautiful, and seems to have everything together. Meanwhile, I've struggled with anxiety and never felt like I measured up. Last year, I finally got a promotion at work that I worked hard for. Rachel, being jealous, tried to undermine me by spreading rumors that I was incompetent and unqualified. I found out when a coworker confronted me about the rumors, and it devastated me. In retaliation, I decided to look deeper into Rachel's life. What I found was shocking. She was involved in a secret relationship with a married man who was a family friend. I confronted her, and at first she denied it, but then she broke down and admitted the truth. I told her I would keep quiet if she stopped trying to sabotage me. However, she continued her tactics, even trying to convince our parents that I was lying about my promotion. Feeling betrayed and hurt, I decided to tell our parents the truth about her relationship. The fallout was catastrophic. Our parents were furious with Rachel, and she's currently cut off from the family. Now I feel like the villain. I didn't want to expose her, but I was desperate and felt I had no other option. Am I the a-hole for exposing her when she was already hurting me? Not the a-hole. You warned her and told her to stop. She failed to. That's not your problem. You feel bad because you're a nice person, but your sister literally crossed your boundaries multiple times, lying on your name. Trying to harm your reputation, you shouldn't feel bad. You did nothing wrong. Your sister lied about you while you told the truth about her. Don't feel bad. Update. I'm exposing the woman my partner, now ex, cheated on me with. Original post. I, 34 female, had been with my boyfriend, 35 male, for 7 years when I discovered that his close female friend, 33 female, who gets him like no one else, has been sending him nudes, texts, and begging him for hookups. He has been reciprocating. What bothers me even more is that she's married, and her husband has no idea. They've stayed in hotels together multiple times, while both lied to my face, insisting that nothing was going on. Meanwhile, I've quietly collected evidence, taking screenshots of everything I found on his phone. I stupidly told my partner I would forgive him if he gave her up, but he adamantly refused. He said he loved her more than me, but still wanted to keep both of us. So, I've been quietly preparing to move on without him. I let him renew the lease in our house while I sort out my finances. And I'm planning to expose her as karma for all the lies. Thanks to my partner buying her adult toys on Amazon, I know where she lives. She stays with her husband's family, and here's the kicker. She can only remain in the country because she's married. She has even said that once she secures her visa, she plans to leave her husband and be with my ex. If I expose her to her husband and in-laws, he'll likely divorce her, and she'll be forced to leave the country for 6 months to a year. She wouldn't be able to afford a visa on her own, and her previous attempts to secure one independently have been unsuccessful. Her husband currently funds it. If she has to go back, she'd end up in a Muslim country with her parents, who would despise her if they knew what she had done, though her father is currently cheating on her mother, so it seems to run in the family. I wouldn't even consider doing this, and I might have forgiven her if she hadn't lied to my face. She cried her eyes out when I confronted her, claiming I made her feel like a whore and that she'd never betray her religion or husband. 3 days later, she was hooking up with my boyfriend in my bed. I'm not sure when to go through with it. She's going back to her home country next month on a trip her husband paid for, and I know he would likely leave her there and cancel her return flight if I told him. But if I expose her now, my ex would know it was me, and he would leave the house. I can't afford a place on my own until next year. Alternatively, I could wait until I've paid off most of my debts and can support myself, which would mean holding off for nearly a year to avoid becoming homeless. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Gather your info, seek a lawyer, and start making an exit plan for yourself. And I would tell and show her husband what she has been doing. Thank you. I feel awful for him. I go to the gym with him and is genuinely such a nice guy. At least to me. Obviously, I don't know their circumstances at home. She hasn't even got a job but goes to the cinemas several times, / hotel stays without him and new clothes every week, etc. And he pays for a lot. She's taking advantage of a kind man. Tell the husband and let him leave her there. Also, he can't just leave the house he has signed for. It will ruin any chance of him renting again. Plus, he will be required by law to pay. Tell her husband. Send him the evidence and let the chips fall where they may. Oh, I didn't know that. In about 10 months, I could afford a place by myself, which is what I was planning on waiting for. But if I can do it sooner. I don't know where you live, but be careful with assuming your partner can't leave the home / be removed from the rental agreement. There are places where a renter can pay a penalty to be removed from the lease. Check your local laws and also your rental agreement. The agreement should or might have a clause that explains if / how a renter can break the agreement. I don't want you to get stuck with a house you can't afford if your partner leaves, because you assumed he legally couldn't when in fact he could. Thank you. I'm avoiding putting where I live just in case either of them comes across this. It's specific enough that I think they'd figure it out, but I couldn't make my point being any vaguer. It's why I'm considering waiting a few months until I'm better financially, as much as I'm itching to do it next week while they're on holiday. I can afford all bills with ease once I've finished paying off this awful loan I've had for a while. He genuinely thinks I'm happy partaking in an open relationship, so he has no reason to want to leave at the moment. I think the sensible option is to wait, but it means you guys will have to wait a few months for an update. Now for the first update. Last night, I bumped into her husband at the gym. Since she wasn't with him, I decided to tell him everything. He had suspected she was cheating but didn't want to believe it, and thought they could work on their marriage. Until I showed him the screenshots. I also told him about her plan to divorce him once she obtained citizenship. She asked for some time to gather any evidence he could find, like the adult toys my ex bought her to strengthen his case. He also asked if I could anonymously report the situation, because he didn't feel ready to face it himself. He wasn't angry, just incredibly sad, and I've felt awful for putting him through this. But he didn't deserve to be used like that. This confrontation happened sooner than I expected, but he promised to protect me from any fallout, considering I took a risk by telling him the truth. If they get an amicable divorce, she'll have 60 days to leave the country and would need to restart the visa process to return. If she is charged with lying to gain a visa, she could be banned for 10 years. I'm not sure if cheating qualifies as lying for the visa, but I don't have proof of that yet. Second update a month later. A lot has happened in the last month. It feels like the first post was ages ago, given how stressful things have been. As kind of expected, the husband backtracked and decided he wanted to try and save their marriage. He had no idea she had 3 different escape plans lined up to run away with my ex. I did anonymously report her, but I'll never know the outcome. I assume it will come up when they start the divorce proceedings. My ex and I continued living together until about a week ago, but it was unbearable. We'd have moments of peace, then erupt into arguments over the smallest things. The final straw was when my ex started completely ignoring me after I had been driving him to and from work because his car was broken down. I even drove him to the gym, but when I got ready to go in, he told me I wasn't allowed to because she was there, and that I made her uncomfortable. When I told him I wasn't going to change my plans for her, he accused me of being a cruel and horrible person for not supporting their love, and said I deserved to be unhappy. I laughed in his face, threw him out of the car, drove home, packed all of his belongings, and dropped them off at his mother's house. And by dropped off, I mean I tossed them out of the car and called his mom to come get them before they got stolen. After that, I stood for a bit and then drove to the other woman's house. I told her family everything, and her father-in-law was probably the angriest of them all. I showed them all the evidence and gave them copies. The husband and she tried to play it off as some couple's adult game, but the evidence made it clear that wasn't true. Even if it was, she knew about me and my relationship with him. During this, the husband discovered that she had already consulted lawyers about how to divorce him while staying in the country, so they've now begun divorce proceedings. She's set to return to her home country. She has also blocked my ex and everything because he wasn't supposed to keep her nudes or texts. He had lied to her about living with me and still talking to me. She thought that after I found out about the cheating, he had moved out and cut contact. On a few occasions she saw us together at the gym, he had explained it away as a coincidence. My ex is now blocked on everything and living with his mom. I returned his car to the dealership and accepted a payment plan for breaking the lease early. I'm waiting to hear back from a cute one-bedroom apartment 10 minutes from where I currently live. It's £400 cheaper with a garden for my dogs. I'll lose my deposit and owe for some damages it cost to the house, but I don't care anymore. I won't get to see the rest of the fallout, but I've seen enough to carry on with my life, knowing I hurt them as much as they hurt me. I'm petty, but it's made me feel better. This account will be pretty much inactive from now on as I focus on moving forward and rebuilding my confidence. Thank you everyone for your support and advice. I was truly alone, and it was comforting to know that strangers from all over the world could band together in our shared disdain for cheaters. In the end, the idiot wanted to play with fire and he lost everything. That he did. She probably didn't deserve as much karma as she got, but it is what it is. His own family couldn't care less even after knowing me for all that time. Same for his friends. They supported him. You're a queen. Your ex is genuinely awful. Which dumpster did you pick him up from? Be careful not to collect future partners from dumpsters moving forward. As for her, good riddance. I don't understand people who think the betrayed spouse shouldn't confront the affair partner. Yes, the spouse is the biggest culprit and should get the biggest ass kicking. But if the affair partner is perfectly aware of the entire situation, then screw him. They're not innocent at all. Only if affair partner is truly unaware, then they shouldn't be targeted because they're also a victim. And in this situation, affair partner is your friend and the basis of friendship is loyalty and respect, to which she's shown you neither. So, go off, queen. Thank you, and God knows, you think you know someone. I even said to him, if he'd broken up with me and then got with her, I never would have cared. I would have been hurt but not spiteful over it. And that's what I said, but he did try to argue, before I blocked him, that she didn't deserve any of this, and that she's the innocent party. Last I checked, me and her husband were the only innocent parties, yet we were expected to wave them off into the sunset together? Next story. That's not what you're supposed to do in an open relationship. My ex Gina and I had been dating for about 5 years. She told me she loved me but wanted to open our relationship and experience more of life. I didn't want that at all, and I made it clear that it wasn't my thing. But she kept pushing, and I eventually agreed because I didn't want to lose her. I'm not an extroverted person, and I wasn't really interested in seeing anyone else. So I just kept living my life the same way. Then about 6 months ago, I met Helen through my job. She was really interesting, and we clicked right away. We had similar hobbies and tastes in pop culture, so we started hanging out as friends. Helen knew about my situation with Gina, so we kept it friendly until things got more complicated. One day, a guy asked Helen out, and she turned him down. Afterward, she called me and said that I was the closest thing to a perfect boyfriend for her, even though I had a girlfriend. She admitted she was too into me and felt like accepting the date would have been like cheating on me. It wasn't sexual, but it made me think about my feelings. I asked Helen if she thought we would make a good couple. She said yes, absolutely, but she wasn't going to be responsible for me leaving Gina. I told her to give me a month to figure things out. That night, I broke up with Gina, packed up my things and moved out since it was her lease. I gave her money to cover my share of the bills until February. After the breakup, I kept hanging out with Helen as friends, and eventually I asked her on a real date. She agreed, but made it clear that she was a one-man woman and would never want an open relationship. That was exactly what I wanted too. When Gina found out I had basically left her to be with someone else, she was furious. She accused me of developing feelings for Helen while we were still together, and said that wasn't how an open relationship was supposed to work. She was also upset because she couldn't afford the apartment on her own. I told Gina that I never wanted an open relationship in the first place, but she had insisted on it. I don't think I did anything wrong by moving on with someone who wanted the same things I did. You meeting Helen had nothing to do with your open relationship. You weren't happy with Gina, so you monkey branched to Helen. So I guess the question is whether monkey branching makes you the a-hole. I would not have hung out alone with a woman if I was in a monogamous relationship. I would find it disrespectful. You're not supposed to find a new girlfriend in an open relationship. Hun, you're not supposed to force an open relationship on someone who doesn't want it. Karma. She played stupid games. Got to win a stupid prize. If I were OP, the fact that she did not want to be in a committed relationship with OP, then she broke off their relationship, not him, no matter what she says. Last story. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband after catching him in bed with our married neighbor and exposing her to her husband? This is honestly such a mess, and I'm not sure if I handled it the right way, but here it goes. I, 34 female, have been married to my husband, 36 male, for 7 years. We have an 8-year-old autistic son, and life has already been pretty stressful for both of us. I thought we were handling it together like we were in this as a team until a few weeks ago when everything fell apart. We live in a small neighborhood where everyone's pretty friendly, and I got along well with our next door neighbors, Emily, 32 female, and her husband, Dave, 35 male. Emily and I weren't super close, but we chatted often. Our kids played together sometimes, and our husbands would occasionally hang out too. At first I thought it was nice that my husband and Emily seemed to get along, just neighbors being friendly. But then things started to feel off. My husband became more secretive, especially with his phone, and he seemed to bump into Emily whenever I wasn't around. He'd go out for random walks or suddenly needed to run errands right after dinner. I noticed these little things, but I didn't want to seem paranoid. I mean, we'd been through so much together. I didn't think he would do something like that to me. Then one day, everything came crashing down. I had to come home early from work unexpectedly because our son's school had a half day that I forgot about. I walked in, and there in our bedroom, I found my husband and Emily together. In our bed. I felt like the world stopped. They both panicked when they saw me. My husband scrabbling for his clothes and Emily crying, saying it was a mistake and that she was so sorry. I couldn't even process it. I just walked out, shaking, and went to pick up my son from school. Later that night, I confronted my husband, and he admitted to having an affair with her for the past few months. He begged me to forgive him, said it was a stupid, impulsive thing, and swore he loved me and didn't want to lose our family. I was heartbroken and didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't stay with someone who would betray me like that. Then there was Emily's husband, Dave. I knew him well enough to know he had no idea what was going on. I couldn't just stay silent and let him be blindsided like I was. So the next day, I went over to their house while Emily was out and told Dave everything. I even showed him proof, texts, pictures, everything I had. He was devastated, obviously, but he thanked me for being honest. And that's when the real drama began. Both my husband and Emily were furious when they found out I told Dave. My husband said I should have kept it between us and worked things out for the sake of our son. Emily called me all kinds of names, saying I had no right to tell her husband and that I ruined her life. She even claimed it wasn't serious, and then I blew everything out of proportion. Now Dave is considering divorcing her, and I've already filed for divorce myself. I'm getting a lot of flack from mutual friends who say I went too far by telling Dave and that I should have tried to keep things private to avoid tearing apart two families. I feel like I did what I had to do, but now I'm questioning myself. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband and telling Emily's husband about the affair? Should I have kept quiet and handled it differently? Honestly, her friends need to mind their own damn business and stay out of hers. She's more than welcome and has every right to divorce her cheating ex. So true, they're not real friends. Real friends would support and love her. My advice? Get new friends. Also, show them this post to show them how crappy they are. I love it when cheaters start talking about rights. I'm not even a huge believer in monogamy, despite personally being married for 20 plus years. But a promise is a promise, and betrayal is betrayal. How dare you respond to my complete betrayal of you in a way that reflects poorly on me? Yeah, okay.
Update. Found out my best friend's girlfriend is hitting on my fiancé. Original post. My fiancé male 28 and I female 26 have a beach vacation coming up. It was supposed to be us, my sister and her husband. Circumstances changed and they won't be joining us, but their tickets are non-refundable. So we decided to invite my brother-in-law's brother Ned, male 27, who has also been my best friend since we were toddlers, and his girlfriend Kate, female 27. We are all very close and hang out almost every week. We all have a group chat for the trip, and Kate and I discuss girly stuffs privately. Last week, Kate sent my fiancé some lingerie and bikini pics, asking for his suggestion in his private chat. Fiancé assumed she sent it to him accidentally instead of me, and told her that. To which she said she wanted a man's opinion, and my fiancé said he didn't really have any opinion, and she should ask me or her boyfriend. He then showed me the messages when we both got home from work. We both thought it was weird and just moved past it. Side note, she never sent me anything asking for my opinion, even though a couple days later I asked for her opinion on some dresses. On Sunday, Ned and Kate came to our house for dinner and to discuss our upcoming trip. Everything went great. I got a video call from my sis and brother-in-law, and I was talking to them in the balcony, and Ned came to say hi to his brother. According to my fiancé, when Ned left the room, Kate brought up the pics and was asking him his opinion, and even showed him pics of her in lingerie, and some of them were very revealing. Fiancé was cornered by her in the kitchen where he was clearing up some dishes. I called him from the balcony to participate in the video chat since my sis had some news. This was when he was able to get away from her. If it's relevant, she was a bit drunk. My fiancé told me this after they left. I was still angry with her. We both felt like all this happened too fast, and there weren't really any other signs. He also asked me to look through their chat to see if he was oblivious to her or something. There wasn't really much correspondence between them, except the occasional confirming of plans. I don't really know how to approach this with Ned and Kate. I don't really want her on this trip if she's going to act like this, and also fiancé is not at all comfortable with the idea. Ned is like a brother to me. I love him, I don't want this to destroy our friendship, but also given the situation, he deserves a lot better. So guys, what should I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Your fiancé should just straightforward tell her, listen, this is all awkward, and expect her to gaslight as well, but you can back him up. Things will take care of themselves after the confrontation, if at all she is weird. We are supposed to leave for the trip on Saturday. We all have work till Friday, so I don't know how to make time for confrontation. They work opposite shifts, so that's an issue too. I don't know who I should talk to first. You have to talk to Ned. Show him the text messages. There's no two ways about it. Should we talk to them both, or only to Ned first? It's a tricky situation, but as your relationship is with Ned, so I would say talk to just him, you and your fiancé. Start off by saying you're sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Tell him you didn't know how to go about approaching him on this, but you feel he needs to know and the situation is making things uncomfortable for you and fiancé, and then just hand him the phone. Just be honest about it. It's going to be a mess no matter what, but it'll be shadier if you don't tell them. We are definitely going to bring it up. I don't want her to turn things around and blame my fiancé. I know Ned is going to be hurt, but I want to minimize it as much as possible. I mean, of course he's going to be hurt. You can't minimize that nor change that, but it's 100% not your fault, and you're doing the right thing by telling him. First update. Thanks for the advice. We are both taking afternoon off and are going to meet Ned tomorrow for lunch as he works night shift. Told him not to tell Kate anything as it's about a personal family stuff. Didn't tell him that fiancé would be there too. So hopefully he won't tell her anything. Do you still have the pictures as evidence? Do not go with her on the trip. She's trying to make the moves on your fiancé. Yes, we plan on showing him the pics. They have been together for about 4 years, but we all know each other since we were kids except my fiancé. And now for the update. I think this is how you update and link posts. I hope it works. Some of you wanted an update. So here it goes. My fiancé and I took the afternoon off work to meet with my best friend Ned for lunch yesterday. Fiancé was running a bit late, so I reached the restaurant first. Ned and I were catching up, and he talked about how he misses hanging out just the two of us like when we were younger. I felt a bit guilty lying to him, so I told him fiancé was joining in sometime as well. He started thanking me for inviting him on the trip. Apparently due to their conflicting schedules, Ned and Kate weren't spending much time together, and their relationship was tense. He said that this trip would be the best thing for them and he was really excited. Fiancé arrived at the tail end of this conversation, and I felt so sad for Ned. I was almost ready to forgo the confrontation altogether. We basically apologized to him, and I told him that fiancé had something to say. Fiancé told him about the messages and what happened in the kitchen. Ned was in disbelief. Shock. But he was very quiet. He asked if we had the messages, and fiancé showed him. Then Ned said now it makes sense. We were confused and asked what he was talking about. Apparently when they left, Kate was pretty drunk, and the whole drive home, Kate was mumbling things like nobody wants me, likes me, loves me, etc. And the last couple days after the incident, she was acting strange the little time they spent together. We told him we are there for him obviously whatever he decides, but that we don't feel comfortable having Kate on the trip, but he is still welcome. He said he would be talking to Kate and letting us know, but they won't be joining us on the trip. Tonight before work, Ned stopped by our house and told us that he broke up with Kate. He said he found some things, but wasn't ready to talk about it yet. Since they used to live together, she couldn't move out anywhere immediately, so Ned will be staying at our place for a while. Also, both fiancé and I got an apology text from Kate. So I guess that's it. We are not really in the mood now for the trip, but maybe it would be a good way to put this all behind. It might be selfish, but I am just grateful that Ned and I's friendship is still going strong, and that he trusts us to help him through the thing he's going through. Thank you to everyone for their advice. I think you all should still go on that trip. Y'all should let home wreck your plans too. Bring your friend. It would suck for him to be alone. Yes, that's what my fiancé and I were talking about just now. We don't want him to be alone. I guess it's time for another confrontation to make him agree to come with us and maybe bring some other friend, so he won't feel like the third wheel because that was his argument. If he comes, make sure that you have activities planned so that everyone isn't sitting around moping, and that you and fiancé have some time alone as well. Your fiancé was basically harassed and needs a break as well. This trip was actually planned as a romantic getaway, but we are going to move some things around and include non-couple or just do some group activities. Fiancé and I would have time for us as well. Ned loves photography, so there will be something to do for him at all time. You're such good friends. And honestly, a change of scenery would be good for all three of you. Sometimes taking a trip in situations like this helps clear your mind so you can start fresh. Good for Ned. It's a crappy situation, but he'll be better for it in the end. It speaks highly of your friendship that he trusts you so completely. He is an amazing person. I just hope everything works out for him and he's happy as soon as possible. Next story. My female 20, boyfriend male 20, invites my best friend female 20 out to games. Just the two of them. Original post. My boyfriend, let's call him Jim, and I have been together for a year, and me and my best friend we'll call Gina have been friends since grade school. Jim and Gina are both varsity players and are addicted to watching sports. They would follow hockey, baseball, soccer, football, basketball, like almost any game they love. However, I'm not really a sports person, but still, I would make the effort to attend their games. I would also make an effort to learn and understand their games. Jim plays football and Gina plays soccer. Jim was using my laptop and forgot to log out his Facebook account. I know it's wrong to snoop, but I couldn't help it. Some of his teammates were messaging him, and I clicked on the message icon and saw that he was messaging Gina. I got curious and scrolled through it and saw that he invited Gina out to multiple games, saying that he will buy 2 tickets for this game or that game. Gina would decline and tell him that he should invite me instead. Jim then said that I wouldn't understand and that I was not fun to be with in these kinds of things. Gina said that he is being unfair to me, but Jim still sends multiple messages to Gina about wanting to talk and wanting to go out with her. This has been going on for months. Gina has said nothing to me about this, and the only thing that she did to kinda allude to the situation is to text me list of games that I should watch because those are Jim's favorite teams. I kinda feel betrayed by both of them, although I feel more betrayed by Jim than Gina. What should I do? How should I approach this? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. I don't think you should feel betrayed by your friend. She probably didn't tell you because 1, she didn't want you to lose out on your relationship, and 2, because she didn't want to harm your friendship or make you feel jealous. She did great by defending you and declining his offers. You should be glad that you have such a loyal friend. A lot of other girls would have accepted his offers. Your friend could have told you sure, but she wasn't hiding that information with bad intent, at least from what it seems like. It looks like she was doing good by you, and I think you're right to feel hurt or betrayed, but you're misdirecting those feelings towards your friend when it's really your boyfriend who should not be trying to exclude his girlfriend. I would confront your boyfriend about the issue, and then maybe talk about things with your friend, and acknowledge that you saw she declined and was trying to help. She definitely was trying to help. I know a lot of ladies who try to help, then talk mad about the girlfriend to make themselves look like better or more viable options for the guy, and are super shady. You don't want a girl who pretends to play nice, and she's really up to something behind your back. Your friend is not like this. Agree completely. The friend always gets the short end if they tell you your partner is hitting on them. She was in a no-win situation and handled it brilliantly. Your boyfriend, on the other hand, is really making a play for her and disrespecting you. You know what you have to do. Dating is a screening process. He failed. Dump him. You should not feel betrayed by your friend. She's an awesome friend, if anything. She turned down all the invites. She defended you from your boyfriend's lame insults. She attempted to get him to invite you to the games. She, in her way, tried to bolster your interest in these games. She didn't want to ruin you two's relationship, and instead tried to steer him in the right direction. Many people wish they could have a friend like this. You should certainly talk to your boyfriend about this. This is 100% a him problem, at least in my opinion. I think the betrayal feeling from Gina might be because Gina didn't come right out and tell her that the boyfriend has been inviting her. I completely agree with you, though, that it shouldn't be read that way. Gina has been trying to give the boyfriend an opportunity to make things right, rather than being the source that drives a rift between her friend's relationship. This is 100% an issue with Jim, but I'm not sure what the best approach would be. Maybe ask Jim if he resents her for not being interested in sports as much as he is. Or maybe a more positive approach where she asks if he'd enjoy going to a game with her sometime and see how she likes going to one with friends rather than watching them play. You're right, I talked to her about this, and she told me she was so unsure on what to do. She didn't want to ruin my relationship because of a wrong assumption, and that she also fears that it might affect our friendship. We apologized to each other and hugged it out. Now for the updates. Thank you everyone for your advice. I approached Gina first and told her that I've seen the messages. She was relieved that I came to her and talked to her about it. She explained that she didn't know what to do because she didn't want to do anything that would destroy our friendship. She also assured me that next time, she will tell me if anything shady like this happens again, and that she will always have my back. We both apologized to each other and hugged it out. I also have to admit that snooping through Jim's messages are wrong. The reason I did that was because there are some rumors that he hits on other girls at away games, and I was feeling insecure and worried about it. But it still does not justify the way I went about it. As for Jim, we will meet up later tonight. I honestly think it is over between us. He also has a lot of guy friends to go with him to games, and he also would never invite me. I would rather salvage my relationship with my friend than continue my relationship with him and stay feeling insecure. Thank you guys for the advice. Update 2. Gina told me that I should start by saying, "Hey, Gina told me that you were inviting her out to games," and I did exactly that. Jim became defensive and told me that he never invited her. I told him that I saw the messages, and he asked if Gina showed me the messages. I told him the truth, that I saw it through his Facebook, and he was furious at me. He told me that I violated his privacy, and I apologized for it. Then he told me that he was asking out Gina because his friends felt that Gina was a lesbian. He was trying to get proof by asking her out, and that her not reciprocating is proof that she is one. At this point, I'm like, what? He said that he was doing that to protect me, and I'm like, what? He then left and told me that he needed space, and that I should text him after I got my head cleared up. I just texted him, "Stay away from me and Gina." That was honestly a wild ride. He got caught trying to cheat for sure. "I need space and you need to clear your head" was code for crap carp. The hasty excuse I cooked up in 10 seconds about her being a lesbian isn't working. I need time to clap my two brain cells together till something better comes out. If his brain were dynamite, he wouldn't have enough to blow his nose. Dude was doing exactly what the rumors said he was. If I were OP, I would check myself for STDs. You don't understand. He had to test all of the other women to see if they were lesbians. That has to be one of the worst excuses I've heard of. Protecting her. No. He wants to bang her bestie, no other way about it. Dude is trash. It really doesn't even make sense. Protect her from what? A friend who happens to be gay. Why would that even be a problem? When my best friend started dating her husband, he wanted her to stop hanging out with me because I am bi, and apparently that meant I was trying to get her to cheat on him. Thankfully, he was just young and stupid. She told him F no, we all hung out more, now her husband and me are good friends. This was like 15 years ago though. I thought today's 19-year-olds understood the whole gay thing better.